Welcome back to the Eye of Jupiter Live. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and today we have on the incredible, the wonderful, the amazing, good friend of mine, actually. I think through time, he's a great guy. He's actually been really nice and helping me out on a couple things and giving me some pointers and stuff like that. The wonderful, amazing, once again, Austin Lawrence, and we're going to talk about his paranormal series called The Dead Chronicles and some of the interesting things that have happened. Let me adjust my light over here so you get to see this. The moneymaker, as Charles Barkley like to says. So if you keep finding stuff coming back to the Eye of Jupiter, remember, every week we have a live show at this time, 7 p.m. Eastern time on every Wednesday, except for probably Christmas this year. I'm not going to do one on Christmas. So it's going to be 1 week without, guys, but it is Christmas. It's time to spend with your families. It's much more important than watching a paranormal show or whatever this show is. So if you keep finding yourself coming back to iJupiter, please do me a favor, like and subscribe. We're still about 23 away from that 1,000. Hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss any of the wonderful content that you've come to know and enjoy. If you enjoy some t-shirts, if you enjoy some hats, if you enjoy some posters, here I have some merch, and you can go over to the merch and get yourself something for Christmas. The link is below in the description. So I'm also to be found on Rumble. I'm also to be found on Spotify, and I'm also streaming live to Twitch. I think it's called, yes, Twitch. And if anybody over on Twitch, how y'all doing? Everybody on Facebook, how y'all doing? So with all that out of the way, let's welcome to the Eye of Jupiter podcast, Mr. Austin Lawrence.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, brother, man? How you been?
I've been good. How you been?
Same stuff, different day, just working hard, trying to make sure I put out a good show. And, I think you got me in contact with Lynn. I might have, maybe separately, Lynn Schrader Hill. And yeah.
Oh, Sin Schrader Hill. Yeah.
Lynn Schrader. Oh, I got that completely backwards.
It's all right.
Yeah, she's great. And I reached out to her separately, and she was like, "Oh, I'm friends with Austin. Oh, by the way, I also, I got Mark Elliott Foltz," and I was like,
"Yeah."
And we've had a couple of lives in between. I've been talking to Mark, I've been talking to her, and she's also friends with Eric and yourself. And she's like, "You should contact him. He's doing some interesting stuff on his new project there, and maybe you should get some updates." And yeah, I was like, "And now here we are, buddy."
That's awesome. I'm so freaking grateful that we have this amazing group of people. Like Sin, Eric, and Mark are like genuinely three of the greatest people you'll ever meet in your life.
That's wonderful, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's crazy how this stuff brings people together.
Yeah, you have your bad apples. We got to sift our way through them.
Right.
No crabs in the buckets, man. We're gonna push everybody up at the same time, and like-minded people who are good people
Yep.
are going to be pushed to the front, and what they call it, what they call it when you're shucking corn, to all that stuff goes to the side. You know what I mean?
Right,
All this
right,
stuff
right,
is
right.
bad. You just plow forward, and you wake behind you. The people want to
Yep.
come with you, or the people you help, you jump in their wake, and hopefully we can keep this up. Hey, what's up, Darren? Oh wow, Darren's on here too. I just interviewed him. He had an incredible encounter in I can't remember the name of the forest. It was in Alabama when he was hunting in 2017. That's to be out on the 20th
Wow.
of December, 27th of December. So yeah, he's here today. Hi, dude. Please tell us again a little bit about yourself and like where we can find you.
Yeah. So I'm a paranormal investigator. Been at it for I guess like 14 years now. As far as actively investigating, been researching most of my life. And I got a couple of books out. Hell's Carnival and Taylor Mill Horror on Amazon, and you can find me now on Facebook at the Dead Chronicles, which is the new project.
Dead Chronicles. Where'd you come up with that name? I know there's a million names out there that you could come up with, and a lot of it does get convoluted in this medium that we're in. So why did you choose that one?
Yeah, so the Dead Chronicles came from I mean this all stemmed from the Randolph County Asylum. And there is a woman there by the name of Ida who her husband had given her syphilis, and back then it was definitely a death sentence. It was 3 years before penicillin was invented and there was treatment when she had passed away. So they had taken her to the asylum. Now, the asylum wasn't a mental asylum, it was a poor farm. But they didn't want to send her to a mental asylum, but she started kind of losing her mind. And it was a giant working farm, and she would find her way out and wander onto the highway, wander into the fields and things like that. So I decided the best way to deal with her is to keep her locked up at night in the basement in this little room. And one night she asked if she could have a broom sweep up her room, and she took the broom and put it through the exposed piping and pulled apart her mattress and created a makeshift noose and ended up hanging herself. So since then, she's really been remembered as this crazy woman who killed herself. And to me, it never sat right with me. These are all people. And so,
right.
I really want to start uncovering these dead chronicles, these dead stories about these people when they were alive. And it works as kind of like a double entendre type of thing as far as the Dead Chronicles. But for me, it's bringing these people back to life, bringing their stories back to life, so that they can
collecting evidence and things of that nature. That's
absolutely.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You're a big history buff. You really enjoy digging into the place you're at, the area you're in, because a lot of times they'll say, the really easy, saying that people says that, the history is written by the victors, but it's also written by people with a slant, with people who either weren't there or who didn't like a person or did like a person. So sometimes going back and doing what you do might be even more beneficial than people actually realize.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And there's even things where, like, for example, if we're going back to the asylum, where there were some cover-ups. Back then, there was a big cholera outbreak, and they decided to make a deal with the local governments to where they would store dead bodies who were infected with cholera. So where would they store them? They store them in the freezer right next to the meat. And so they end up having 2 women who passed away of quote unquote food poisoning, but they just happened to walk by this door in the basement every single day and it had these vents on them. And so they definitely died of cholera, and, they said, oh no, it's food poisoning, but yet everyone ate the same food, but only 2 people died from it. So it doesn't make sense. And so then they very quickly decided to get rid of all the bodies, and they put 12 inches of concrete over the floor to block in all the cholera. So even stuff like that, where these places tend to cover things up And, the real stories don't get told because, like you said, it's not just the victors, but it's also the people who kind of do some shady stuff and they're like, oh, we can't let this get out,
Right. Right. So you got a lot of response over here. Little Twisted said hello, Austin. This is cool. It's so
What's
cool.
going on? What's going on?
Yeah, what's crack a lacking? So when
Time
did
to the caller.
Yeah, there's a lot of yes. Freaky Geek is the master of jokes and puns. Welcome to the show, Freaky. We wouldn't know what to do without you. So you started this project how long ago, buddy?
This would have been back in July, I believe, when I first started it.
Okay, so you're only about 6 months in.
Yeah.
About 5 months in.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you've been giving some teasers. You've been kind of, poking around the bush, and you just, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, you were having some issues with some of the recordings, or what was it that you were having issues with?
Yeah. Essentially, I just needed to re-record the investigative parts.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I'm a one-man team right now, so I wasn't too satisfied with the first go at it.
Yeah,
so,
well,
yeah,
that's the thing. When you do your own, we were talking about that back in the green room. It's like, when you are the sole person, it is your baby.
Right.
You enjoy the creative controls, which I enjoy as well. I get to creatively control all this and get better at it as I go. But it entails a lot of work. But I know you're that kind of guy. You're down for the work. And if you see something that is not to your liking, you're going to go ahead and redo it to make a better product. And it's commendable, dude.
Yeah. And I have to give a huge shout out to Dan and Rich, who own all these properties. They have a 501c3 called Save the Old Properties, and they buy these properties for historical purposes to preserve them, and they allow us to go in and investigate them. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do any of this because I've gone back to these locations so many times, and they're always grateful to welcome me back in. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I've been speaking, and I've been speaking to a few paranormal investigators who've had issues. They'll have somebody who they're cool with, and it was I can't remember. There was a Masonic lodge. They were in the Detroit area, and they were going in. Everything was fine, and then one day they had a falling off, and they weren't allowed to go back in. And it's just sad. So it kind of means that you're a cool person too. To be honest with you, it's a little bit of both on both sides. It's a little bit of hand in hand, and that's always cool, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. And like I said, it's really great to see people like that because they're enthralled with the history, and that's the reason why they purchased it. So keeping the history alive is so freaking important, and that's what they're all about, and that's what I try to be about too.
All right. Absolutely, buddy. So you wanted to give us some like little teasers about what you're doing, some interesting situations that have happened. Because I asked you, you said yes, so you divulge what it is that you would like to, and I'll see if I have any questions for you. And if you guys have questions in the chat, please go ahead and fire away.
I genuinely don't know where to start.
Well, let's start with Mark, if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, Mark.
Because we both know, everyone knows Mark. He's been on my show. Mark, the great, wonderful, powerful, and beautiful person that is Mark Elliott Foltz, and the things that he's been helping you with.
Yeah, so I came into contact with Mark mainly through Sin Trader Hill, and she told me, she was like, hey. She'd been talking about him for a while, and I'm like, I do not believe in psychic mediums. I don't, because it's not necessarily I don't believe in them as much as there's so many people out there who claim to be and they're not, that I'm just like, okay, pretty much like anyone over 50 at this point claims to be a psychic medium. So I'm just not interested. But, I trust Sin, I trust Eric, and they both said he's the real deal. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a go. We're going to see how it goes. And so before I started filming, I hit him up and I was like, hey, man, so I've got these locations coming up. I'm going to film at. Would you be interested in doing some reading, some remotes and stuff like that? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. He was like, you just don't tell me anything about the locations. Don't tell me where they're at. Don't tell me what they were used for. Nothing. And let me get back to you. And then the day of, I'll do a remote. And I said, okay. So he ends up sending me stuff in between, and everything is really lining up. He even drew maps of the locations that he didn't know what they were, and they were all spot on. The shapes, everything. And I was like, okay, this guy, he seems to be the real deal, but I still can't believe it yet. And I tried tripping him up. I never told him this, but I was going on Facebook and I was posting about the places I was going to, but they weren't the places I was actually going to. I was just making stuff up because he had me on Facebook, so I'm just making stuff up, throwing it out there. And I'm like, if he gets back to me and he says, oh, I feel like there's this there, or this place was used for this, then I'm going to know, okay, you're not legit. You're fake. You just saw me post on Facebook. Right. So I'm throwing out all these red herrings, and he does not bite at all. So I'm like, oh, man, okay. So when we went to the locations, he did remotes. So I would call him on FaceTime, and we kind of walked through. And once again, he was spot on about everything. The jail that I investigated, he actually knew the sheriff's name, the two sheriff's names who passed away there, and where they passed away at. And I'm just like, how the hell do you know this? Like, it's not even like really out there. But he was so on point about absolutely everything, to the point that it just started blowing my mind. And I'm like, okay, this guy, as much as I hate to admit it, he's legitimate. And, this is kind of crazy. So
he's a sweetheart of a guy too. He is the gentlest, kindest person you'll ever talk to. Yeah. But there's a part of me is a little scared because of this ability that he has, because you and I, we don't have it, or at least I don't. I'm not going to want to speak for you, of course. And he's like, oh yeah, I can channel the Bell Witch as well. And he sent me an audio of it. And it's coming out, guys. I think that's next Friday or this Friday. I can't remember which one it is, but he
okay.
It made the hairs raise up on my arm, and he even offered me the opportunity that he channels it, and at that moment, live on the podcast, or not live but pre-recorded, that I asked the Bell Witch questions, the freaking Bell Witch, dude, and I was like, okay, so confirmation from you, and I know I've known you longer than Mark, and then my talks with him, and of course, the powerful Senator Hill. It's been quite the development in knowing this gentleman or person. He's neither here or there, but this wonderful person.
Yeah. It's honestly been a lot for me to take in, to kind of like accept this, right? As a huge skeptic, it's something big, and the thing that really 100% pushed me over the edge is that I decided to eventually have Billy Wilkerson come out to the asylum. Now, the asylum was claimed to have 50 unmarked graves. I wanted them found. Now, Billy Wilkerson, genuinely probably the greatest man I've ever met in my life.
Yes, I contacted him. Yes, I've contacted him.
Awesome.
Yes.
But he does ground penetrating radar, and he goes around and he finds unmarked graves. He also repairs graves. He cleans graves. I mean, he does all these amazing things, and he does it all for donation to the historical society that he works for. So he makes no money off of this. So I kind of took a shot in the dark and asked him if he'd come out to the asylum. Now, this is going to be 16 hours of driving for him. And he said, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So I raised a little bit of money, donated to him. He came out. Now, leading up to him coming out, I was having panic attacks, like nonstop, because I'm like, okay, what happens if we can't find these graves? I've got people who donated money that I'm going to let down. I've got the owners. I have the volunteers. I told them we're going to do this. I'm going to let down. I have these spirits who are there who are going to be watching, who I'm going to let down. The people who are not found, I'm like, so I'm freaking out for like 2 weeks. So no I'm like, dude. Yeah, it was honestly very tough. And I was like, you know what, Mark, So I hit up Mark and I'm like, Mark, I don't know if you can do anything. This is like my cry of desperation. Do you think you could figure out where these graves might be? He's like, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm like, all right. At this point, I'm still holding on to the little bit of skepticism that I have. So about a week later, he draws this map. He's never seen the property of the asylum. He's seen the inside, but never seen the property. And it's a large property. It was like 500 acres, but now they have it down. It's not nearly that anymore. But there's probably 6 or 7 buildings, I want to say, on the property. Still a pretty large property. And so he drew me this map of where he thought the graves were. And he said, does this map make any sense? And I was like, yes, it does. And that's in an area where I thought maybe it would be. Yeah. So I'm starting to feel a little bit better, but still not there. Billy shows up and he's like, so do you guys have any idea where these graves might be? And I said, well, for what it's worth, I have this map from this psychic medium. And he's like, okay, we'll start there. Within 2 seconds, he said, this is where they are. Holy exactly cow, where the graves were. He literally didn't even have to. And the other crazy thing is that, like, I know we talked privately, he used dowsing rods to find these bodies before he pulled out his expensive ground penetrating radar. And he gets out with these dowsing rods, and me and Dan, the owner of the asylum, we're just laughing. I'm like, dude, you've got like this $50,000 piece of equipment in your car right now, and you're carrying around these 2 metal rods. He's like, yeah, they work. I'm like, nah, sure as hell they work. So within about 2 seconds, he ends up finding these graves. And so leading up to this, Mark was telling me about how he was learning about these graves from this woman named Mary. And he said that this woman who was named Mary, she did not live at the asylum. She didn't work at the asylum. She had a connection with someone at the asylum. And let me see if I can bring this up.
Sure. If you'd like to share anything, go for it, man. My computer is
so I've got, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see that pretty good. So this is the stupid green screen. Stop it. So this is the photo that he drew of Mary that he said he was talking to.
He's a good artist too.
Wow. He's an amazing artist. He does everything. He's insane.
So he's that kind of guy. He's exceptional. Yeah.
Yeah. So he drew this of Mary, and he kept telling me, he was like, Mary, she'll help you out. If you ever need something, you just had to ask for her. Well, fast forward to about a month ago, I'm trying to find the grave of Ida, who inspired all this.
Okay.
Now, I found the cemetery she's buried at, her and her 2 children.
What's the backstory on Ida?
She's the one who took her life there, who hung herself.
Right. Okay, that was her. Okay.
Who inspired this entire thing. Yeah. So I just want to go back and pay my respects to her and visit her grave and all that. But everywhere said that her grave was unmarked. And I'm like, why would her and her 2 kids be unmarked, but her husband is buried in that cemetery and he has a headstone? Like, that didn't make sense to me. I was like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to figure it out. So I went to the graveyard, searched for an entire day. It's a small graveyard. It's in the back of a church. So, maybe a couple hundred graves. Nothing huge. And searched an entire day, could not find it. And I'm just like, oh my God, all right, I'm coming back tomorrow. I'm going to find this damn grave. And so I had called Mark on my way back, and I said, hey, man, look, we looked. We couldn't find it. And he says, well, did you ask Mary? And I said, no, I didn't. But I don't know. He was like, you should do that tomorrow and see. She'll help you. I was like, all right. So I'm skeptical of that. So I go back the next day. We search. Probably about 45 minutes, an hour later, I'm like, I'm ready to go. And I was just standing there. I was like, all right, let me try this. And I said, Mary, if you're here, I need your help. Like, I need your help big time. I need to find this grave. And I said, just please point me in the right direction. So I started feeling pulled in a certain direction. And I go there and I come to this grave and I'm like, well, this isn't Ida's grave. I could just tell. And it was still a little bit dirty and I couldn't quite read it. But then I read it and it was a Mary J. Reese. And so the grave here, if you remember back to the one that he had
To
painted,
the picture that Mark drew, yes.
Yep, extremely similar. Same shape
Right.
with the same tree in the background and everything. And I'm like, what the hell? So I start doing a little bit more digging because I remembered. I was like, okay, if Mark got me this far, he says that this woman has
the little joke, metaphorically digging, but sure.
Right. But if Mark got me this far and he was right about this much, he said that she had a connection with someone at the asylum. So what is this connection? So I start looking and I find out that Ida's maiden name was Reese, the same as Mary's last name. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is insane. So then
okay,
I call him, I'm like, dude, you won't believe this. He's like, yeah, I will. I'm like, you're right, you will, but I can't believe this. So, so I tell him, he was like, oh yeah, Mary, yeah, that's her. And I was like, all right, so I found her grave. Can you help me find Ida's now? And he said, give me a second. He said, well, turn around. I said, okay. And he said, to your left. He said, you see that patch right there where there should be graves, but there isn't? And it was the only patch in the cemetery where there should have been graves, but there wasn't, because it was right like dead smack in the middle of the cemetery. All these headstones, and then there's a missing spot for a couple headstones. And he was like, it should be about 3 rows back. Sure enough, it was 3 rows back. And I said, yep. And he said, that's where she's at. So I ended up going back with dowsing rods, like Billy taught me. And according to the dowsing rods, there's 3 graves right there, which very well could be Ida and her 2 children that said that they were unmarked.
Did he go back with the ground penetrating radar?
No, he did not, because this just happened a couple weeks back. I think Billy might be coming back next year, but like I said, he's over 8 hours away.
Okay.
So I think he will be coming back next year, hopefully. And if he does, we'll take him there.
Tell him to get a PayPal, and we'll all throw in $10 for gas money and some food and some lodging.
Right.
And we'll get him back down there so you can do that, dude. That's incredible.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
like being a skeptic and a documentarian and a paranormal researcher, what do you attribute Mark's, for lack of a better word, like powers to be? I mean, how do you put that in a file box in your head? Because I can't.
I can't either. I really can't.
I'm not alone.
That's one of those things that I just can't explain. There's way too many coincidences.
Right, for that to be
they were not coincidences.
Right. Oh, dude. Maybe one of these times, once you get to your once you get it out and going, once it's out, we'll have you and Mark on at the same time. Maybe even your buddy Billy.
That'd be awesome.
If he's willing. All 4 of us have a round table and talk about this, and then maybe we can maybe you can have like a trailer by then, and we could pop up the trailer and do a whole, like, if you're willing, like
absolutely
unraveling, releasing of this wonderful, incredible stuff that you're doing, dude. So
it'd be awesome.
So I know you don't have a time period. Hi, Uncaged Savage. Hi. I know you don't have a time period. You're still in the process of filming and stuff like that. But like, what is your motivation for doing these things? You really enjoy, like, just because it's out of the ordinary, or because it's just something that just you have an itch to scratch? Why do you do that?
It was one of those things where, like I said, I've been doing this for like 14 years, and I kept like getting out of it because I've seen so many. Like, for example, one of my favorite places that I always investigated is Prospect Place Mansion in Trinway, Ohio. Built to be part of the Underground Railroad. Such amazing history there. And then I see these YouTubers go there and name it the Demon House. And it just pissed me off so bad. And it's just, I kept seeing stuff like that, and it just really got under my skin. And so I kind of fell out of the paranormal completely. And then I was like, you know what? Someone needs to be there to kind of tell the actual stories, the actual history, and really tell the stories of these people. Because if you can imagine, if you are a spirit inside of a home, um, and this is one thing that the asylum does that I absolutely love them for. Ida's story, she passed away in the basement. They do not allow anyone to tell her story in the basement or by her room. If you want to talk about that, you go upstairs, you go outside. You do not talk about her suicide in that
Right.
basement. You can talk to her, you can communicate with her, but don't go in there and keep reminding people of the worst times of their lives. And better yet, don't go into someone's
Right.
house and say, you're a demon, or you do this,
Right.
or you need to do this.
Right. They throw that word around like it's poker chips in Vegas. You know what I mean? They just throw that word around. It's a demon. So everyone sort of get like this. So it's like like ooh, so people will like click on it instead of being what it actually is and just being honest. And that didn't sit right with you, dude. I think that's great, dude.
Yeah, it really didn't. And it's just it's one of those things where it's like, there's got to be respect for these people. And the other thing that really hit me was when I was filming with Eric. We went to the Commodore Hotel, which had never been investigated before. And we started having these interactions. And people would tell us that people would check in and they'd hear, a woman talking or something like that. And then they'd check out and they'd leave, they'd run away. And I thought about, I can't imagine, being in a place and wanting so badly to communicate with someone. And once you do, they run out. I can't imagine how horrible that has to feel. And so it's a mix of that.
The ghost because I can't I have issues with disembodied voices. Like if you want to move something, fine. You want to full apparition, fine. You want to slam a door, switch the light switch, all right. But as soon as you start talking to me, and I can EVPs, I'm fine with. If I hear you, it would take me some time. I think I would have to get used to it eventually before I would. I understand where you're coming from, but I think I might have even told you this before. But that disembodied voice thing is the one thing that just makes my hair stand up on end.
No, I totally understand that. It's like if I'm out in the woods and I hear something because it can see you, but you can't see it. And it goes back to that whole survival instinct thing where it's like, But if I can see it, then we're okay. But I totally get that. And, I guess my thing was like, I want to go be Dr. Phil for the dead people. I don't know. But it's like, give someone for these people to talk about or talk to.
What are you feeling like now? That's the worst impersonation ever.
Oh man, that was rough.
That comedian Adam Ray, he does Dr. Phil. I don't know if you've seen him. He does it on
name
of the show.
Yep.
And he just kills me. He's so funny. So funny. He also did a great Joe Biden too. He's hilarious. Yeah, that was a really the Trump Joe Biden one. That is I think it's the highest YouTube retention in history is that episode. And it's I watched a short on it just a minute ago, and I was like, oh wow, it's so funny. If you guys get a chance to go look at that, just type in Trump and blah 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 and Joe Biden on Kill Tony, and just get your popcorn. It's very very stupid.
Oh my god, it's great.
Yeah, but then so doing that, so being a skeptic, how do you square that with the you're being a skeptical person, so know where you're going in with your head screwed on tight, you know what I mean? Not tight, but just straight, I guess you would say is a better word. Tight could have its own connotation. And then you're doing this, so I'd imagine at the beginning of your 14 years, you started having experiences in which you said to yourself, there's something here, and I want to do this. You know what I mean? How do you get from I don't to I start to now you want to talk to the deceased all the time now? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well,
thank you.
I guess it's true. You'd be terrible at this job if you couldn't ask good questions. So that should go without saying. Anyways,
That's funny. So funny.
I think it's one of those things where like, so Eric Freeman Sims, he's kind of helped me along the way, and Mark too, where there is some sort of ability going on in my messed up head. But growing up as like an empath and things like that, I would have activity around me 24/7. And
you're an empath. You're an empath.
Yes.
What does an empath mean to you?
So that's a good question. Very sensitive to energies, but also, as Eric puts it, being a lighthouse to energies. So it could be those who are deceased who will then kind of latch on to you because they're like, oh, you can sense me, you can hear me, you can feel me, that type of thing.
I had that recently for the first time.
Really?
Yeah, my girlfriend's father died. Rest in peace. He was in the coffin in the living room at the house. They didn't have money to take him to a funeral home. You know, it is Mexico, and so I went to brought some flowers because I don't deal well with that kind of thing. I just showed her I'm there. You know, she told her I love her. If she needs anything, let me know. And we were there. I was there with my daughter too, and I was sitting there, and I felt from that corner where the coffin was like this warmth on my like a light shining through a window kind of thing. And I was like, okay, I'm not feeling this. What are you talking? Just, you know. And then I swear, Austin, it was here. So I said, okay, let me turn my head, and I turned it, and the heat then went to the back of my head, and I came back. And then once I kind of accepted that that's palpable, then I said to myself, okay, so what is it? What else is there? And then I had this unbelievable feeling that this deceased person felt confused. So which can be very dangerous and could be bad for the spirit as well as the people of the house. I'm actually doing work up there because I will be moving into said house.
Okay.
And I got to put a roof on. I got a lot of work to do. And what was it? Yeah, but the cool thing with the Catholic tradition, at least in Mexico, there's 9 days of mourning and songs and to guide their path to heaven or guide their path to the afterworld. Okay. And that's how my girlfriend makes a little bit of side money. She's a singer and guitar player, and she does that all over town. People call her, and she goes there and sings for them for like an hour, or she'll go to a funeral home, or once a year when the person was deceased, she'll go there and do that as well. So me feeling that was because I'm empathic too, but what I've noticed towards people who are alive, like if they're in a bad mood, it makes me in a bad mood.
Exactly.
Like if someone's angry, I literally feel angry and have to walk away, and then I can feel it dissipate. If they're happy, I'm happy. But that was the first time, I think, ever since doing what I do here, kind of opening up to it, talking to Magical Journey, my buddy Daniel, go check out his podcast, and him like talking to me about certain things because he's a self-professed green witch as well as empath, and he also does things where he'll see things too, like Mark does. Although no casting shade on anyone, Mark's pretty really good at it. But it's been quite an interesting experience. So being an empath, I kind of understand where you're coming from, and that's why I kind of asked that question to begin with. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things that if you decide to foster it, it just gets crazy and weird.
Okay.
I just would have been like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had pretty much a full-blown panic attack because I was so confused, because here I am driving to work, and I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere off of a old like country highway type of thing, and I see this man just walking down the middle of the road, and I work at a pretty big factory, so there's a lot of traffic there, and this guy's just kind of walking down the middle of the road, and he kind of moves over to the side, and right as my bumper like gets to him, he turns around, gives me the peace sign, and I just go past him. I'm like, oh man, I hope the car behind me didn't hit him. And I look in my mirror, and there's no one there. And it's stuff like this that really starts to pick up after you start fostering it. And in fact, Eric, that I'm pretty sure that same day, saw a full-bodied apparition. And so we called Mark, like, dude, what the hell is going on? And he was like, well, you're fostering this, you're accepting it, and this is becoming more commonplace. So I guess to get back to the original question, this is a long-winded way to say that
Oh, no worries, man.
I chose this path because it chose me. If I wanted to get out of the paranormal, I can't. Like, I'm stuck. So I might as well try to figure out what the hell's going on.
Dude. That's so cool. Because I that's kind of what I'm in now. It's kind of like, you know, I've been a musician for years, a stand-up comedian for years, and I used to be uncomfortable talking in front of people. But when you do stand-up, there's no drum set behind you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just you and your thoughts, and you either eat a big old bag of you-know-what, or a plate of crap, or whatever, or you die by the sword, or you get them. And
exactly,
because you have to pick up on their energy too. That's the interesting thing. Being a comedian, you have to read the
room. Right.
And I'm still not very good at it. But you know, having the experience I had when I was 8, of course, other ones through my life, you know, sporadically, kind of led me into this. And now it's what I really enjoy doing. It's what I really, really enjoy doing and want to do. I really do. I understand it. It kind of picked me over time. It was just kind of owning my skills to get me to where I am today. And look at us now. We're both on the podcast, and on a Wednesday at 7, almost 8 o'clock, we have 14, 15 people, and they're just chatting away on the side, and they're enjoying what we do, and that's amazing. And it's kind of like you know, I want to tell everyone as well. The people in the chat, you guys have the ability to do those things too. You just have to follow it and realize it's a lot of hard work, but just get the right people in your corner. If you know, people who love you, and do what you got to do, make those ends meet, because me and Austin still have jobs that we have to do. But at the same time, we want this to be our full-time thing, and you will eventually get there, dude.
Yeah, that's for sure. It can it's some work. You know, the last investigation that I just did, the one I've been sending you clips from, I had a great idea to set up some I got some new stationary cameras. Like, this is gonna be awesome. And then I've spent the past 3 to 4 weeks going over them because I have like 46 hours to watch. And I'm just like, I hate my life so much. Why did I do this to me?
Oh my
God, just the stationary cameras. It's not even the audio.
Sitting there looking at a recording of probably nothing for a very long time.
Yeah.
Looking for a moment of what the hell was that? It's probably the worst part. But when that what the hell is that moment happens, it probably pays off, right?
Oh, yeah. It definitely does. Except, you know, the place that I sent you a couple clips of, I'm just like, dude, please stop doing stuff, because I have so much evidence from this place that I'm starting not to believe it. And people are going to think that I'm just faking all this stuff, because there's way too much going on. So if you guys can just stop giving me evidence.
I'll tell you what, I'll take the screenshots of all the stuff you've been sending me. So when people ask, I'll be like, in November, he sent this to me. He's saying, look, it's too much. Tom, have you seen this before? Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's your stuff. I don't know if I say what happened, but I'll be like, yeah, no, it's legit.
Yeah,
I understand.
It's especially because this is the first time, and I think it might have to do with the fact, because we always talk about who you're with determines how the investigation is going to go. And I really think it's because one of those things where, like we were talking about earlier, about these spirits trying to communicate. I'm not going to try to communicate with you if I think you're not a good person, if I don't like you, if I think you're just trying to catch some evidence, you know, things like that. And I think they can pick up on that type of stuff. So going out solo on these investigations, even, you know, like I told you, I had a couple people with a film crew the first time I filmed, and now I decided to go out solo. There's Mark, the man, the legend.
Hey, there's your Facebook page. Let's go ahead and get Mark. Mark is here. Mark is in the building. Mark, we were kind of hinted at it when Mark was on with me. I think it was last week.
Yeah,
he was like, "Yeah, I did some stuff for him, but I don't want to say too much." I was like, "Yeah, because I'm having him on next week, and because you know it's your project, you know, he's helping on all that." But yeah, so now it's out. Also, Welcome, Mark. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Uh,
Oh, now we got to. Okay, Dad's here. We have to be cool.
That's right. So going out solo now, I have uncovered the most evidence that I've ever uncovered in, all my years of investigating by going out solo. Without a doubt, I've captured in like a single night. I've captured more evidence than I've captured in months. And the thing is like the stuff that I've shown you, I've cut out hundreds of things that you would see on any TV show. Because I think, okay, if the moon was at the right angle and there was a northwestern wind and there was a car that went by and there was someone walking their dog all at the same time, it could explain it, So it's just
explain with all those factors. You can explain why the leprechaun was trying to sell you Twinkies. Gotcha.
Exactly. So I have to throw it out at that point. It's gone.
Right.
But yeah, it's just insane. It's been such a crazy journey, and
so cool, dude. So cool.
When people finally see all this stuff, I think there's going to be some minds blown. I've been really lucky I want to say working with, but Brandon Alvis, who was formerly the star of A&E's Ghost Hunters and now does Haunted Discoveries. And you want to talk about an amazing guy. Brandon Alvis and Mustafa, both amazing. And they do everything, scientifically. They've been working with the only man to gain 2 PhDs simultaneously. They're using equipment that's used by like NASA, the National Weather Service, and stuff like that. So extremely scientific. So before anything makes it into the video, it's got to pass the Brandon Alvis test. I've been giving him stuff like, do whatever you can to explain this. And he comes back and says, I can't. I say, you suck. I wanted an explanation, but okay, thank you. And then it goes in the video.
Like I said, I did that little short, and I will be tagging it back to this video. I got to go and change it. But you also did a little sidetrack. You also wrote a book, Hell's Carnival?
Yeah, Hell's Carnival and Taylor Mill Horror are the two that I have out.
Okay, Hell's Carnival. When did you put those out, buddy? Man, you are a busy man.
I think Hell's Carnival was last year, maybe, and Taylor Mill Horror might have been 2 or 3 years ago. I don't completely remember.
Oh, all right, man. You're a little busy beaver.
They've been out for a minute.
You don't talk about. You think you're working hard. You're out here doing concrete, and got a kid, and you got your whole life changing on you and everything. Moving to Mexico, and then you run into somebody like you who's doing what you're doing and working and writing books. And I go, I got to step up my shit. All right, dude. Fair enough.
Hey, we're all out here working hard. We just
out here. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, does anybody have any questions? You can go ahead and fire them away real quick. Fire them out. Is there anything else you want to maybe get into here in the last couple minutes that that's surprised you, or that maybe some process changes other than running it through your filter of your friend? The name was hard to remember. It's a rare name, although I have heard it before. Is anything that's been surprising to you other than the amount of evidence that you've been receiving, and of course Mark's revelation?
I don't know that I can really say surprising. The process changed not much. I've gone back to kind of where I started: camera, audio recorder, tape recorder. That's it. Not using any of the fancy equipment, except for the EDI meter, which is really cool. Something. So that's something that Brandon Alvis and them use.
Braden.
So essentially, what you got is EMF meter. You've got a gyroscope, so any vibrations. But the cool part is it also has barometric pressure, humidity, and temperature. And they have found that, because if you ever go and investigate, especially being an empath, you feel a room change before something happens. And now we use this equipment, you can see the room change. You can see the barometric pressure change in a room. when you feel it.
Wow.
And then something might happen and line up with it. So it's a really cool piece of equipment to be able to monitor the pressure in the
And
room, the
and it
temperature,
shows
humidity, and
you.
stuff like that.
So as you're recording with it, it has a video camera as well, or you can record it in the room and you can see the numbers and the changes.
So you can record it, and you can see the numbers and changes, or you can even put a SD card in it, and it will plot everything out
Okay.
on a graph, and you can log it that
Oh,
way
that's
too.
cool.
It's
Oh,
awesome.
that's cool.
Man.
You gotta pull up some of those graphs when you do it, dude. That's a cool
Yeah.
idea. It's like you
Yeah.
can see at this moment this happened, because when you record something, because I'm a musician as well. Like you kind of get a couple songs kind of tell you the concept of the album, what it's going to
Right.
be about. There's a theme that kind of comes through, and when you do that, what people don't realize, there's an artistic thing that happens where you go, okay, I see this now. I want to run B-roll here, or I see that now. I want to put this in here. Like, do you enjoy that process?
Oh yeah, I absolutely love it. I've been back to these locations so many times just because of that. Like, now that I see this, I need the shot of this, and that's why a lot of my stuff, like I do some talking heads in there where I kind of talk about what happened, stuff like that. A lot of this stuff I've intentionally left out, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to record within a month or two later, just so that I can see everything, and then I'm not going to go back and they're like, oh crap, I got to go back again. I got to go back again. So I'm trying to like totally plot everything out, before I go back and hopefully do it in one swoop. But
so you kind of like have your FBI storyboard with your red strings and pins, and you go, I'm going here. I want to go here, but I need this. Okay, make sure I get this put on the list, and have like a storyboard.
Exactly.
I'd imagine.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
I don't do the media of film, so I don't know how that works. But I'm just imagining in my head. And the more and more I do this, the more and more I understand it. But I'm sure that's not only. I'm sure the most important part is the most satisfying part is getting the story out as best as you can possible from the tools and doing it the way you think it should be. But I imagine the second part of it is the best part. Second best part would be that you get to kind of put your thumbprint on what you're doing, and I'm sure that will make. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch Bram Stoker or any of these great horror movie people from back in the day, or Martin Scorsese or whoever it is, that little thing, the way they film things, Quentin Tarantino comes to mind. I'm not saying that's the end goal, but you have a feeling when you do things that you kind of see it without it actually already happening, and it kind of presents itself, and you have to kind of foster that and then put it where it needs to be. And of course, making changes along the way, right? And that's the process I think you're probably going through at the moment, as well as refilming, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I knew what the ending of the series was going to be like 3 months before it happened. Like it was just one of those things where I just had it, in my head. But I think the other good thing for me, like people ask me about my books and about this stuff, like who inspires you. Number one, I've never read a book in my life unless it was an I Spy book. I will find all 13 thimbles, I swear to God. And I don't consume much content. I don't watch much TV. I don't really watch movies, and so it's really easy for me to just kind of have my own vision. I don't care about the rules. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. I'm just doing what I want to do and what I think is good. So I think it's pretty easy for me to kind of have my thumbprint,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Being a comedian, if you listen to comic podcasts all the time, you'll have an idea, and then they'll be talking, and you'll be like, "Well, that's my idea. Yeah, I've had that idea." So you can't. Maybe at the beginning of doing it, you kind of to see how it works. It helps, but like eventually, you just kind of have to like shut that out and kind of do it your own way. I completely understand that.
Right.
Well, dude, this has been a great interview, man. So
it's always a good time.
So I know I'm not going to put any timeline on you, but you were saying sometime within maybe the middle of next year you'll be ready, or before?
Yeah, so I'm hoping probably the beginning of the year. It's kind of up in the air because this series I'm going to have it pitched to every single person that will listen to it. So that's going to be a process there, and how long is that going to take? I don't know. but I'm hoping to start pitching before the end of the year is the goal.
Wow. Okay, that's a lofty goal. So don't be going over on Austin's thing and asking him every 5 seconds, guys. When he's ready, he'll contact me, I hope, and then we'll get it out there. So hopefully, I know you're going to go through all the little streaming services and all those kind of things, and we hope the best for your project. And I can't wait to have you on again. I can't wait to have you on again, buddy.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm always excited to be back. I'm already ready right now.
You're already ready to come back on?
All right, well, yeah, I was gonna say, let's just end this stream real quick. We'll start over, and
we'll start over again. We'll talk about turkey basting. You know, the holiday season is upon us.
That is true. I'm not a turkey person though, so that might be a short episode.
A turkey person. I don't think I've ever heard those two words put together back to back. Okay, turkey person.
That's a shirt. Sounds like a shirt. Yeah, that sounds like a cryptid that might be scarier than Dogman to run into.
Yeah. All right, man. So thanks so very much for coming on. Is there anything you want to promote? Your books? Anything you would like to promote out there before you step up off here?
Yeah. I mean, you guys can go pick up Taylor Mahore or Hell's Carnival on Amazon. And go follow Dead Chronicles on Facebook. It's gonna be a fun journey.
Yeah, I had that up there a minute ago. Dead Chronicles on Facebook. Just go on Facebook, type in Dead Chronicles, and you'll find everything that you'll need. And shout out to Mark for being on here.
Yeah.
And thanks everyone for being on the show. Next week, I will be doing a Forum of the Forbidden. A Forum of the Forbidden is a collaborative show between myself, Magical Journey from the Magical Journey podcast, Jim Powell from the Fisher of Spams podcast, and we're going to be talking about that frequency change that it went from, I think, 435 to 440 hertz, and the reason behind it, or the possible reason behind it, and all the patents involved in it, and all the craziness that, a little bit of conspiratorial, or maybe a lot of conspiratorial. I guess you'll have to find out. So thanks for listening, buddy. Thanks for everyone, and thanks for being here, buddy, and I'll see you around, okay?
Hell yeah, I can't wait.
All right, buddy. Have a good day. So that was the incredible, amazing, wonderful, friendly, genuine, wonderful person, Austin Lawrence. Once again, he comes on and he's just so easy to talk, so easy to talk to. My words are my tongue's a little thick today. So down to earth, and I love what he's doing. I love what he does, and I really enjoy him as a person. And go over and check out his stuff, the Dead Chronicles, over on Facebook, guys. Remember, you're watching the Eye of Jupiter. We are the Eye, and we are aware.